Alright, yeah, we're playing the sequel, Stanley Parable 2. Let's go, I'm really excited for this. The E3 was a little disappointing this year, but the Stanley Parable 2 really piqued my interest. I didn't expect the eroticism, though.
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
So, no ray tracing then.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Happy 12th birthday stepniece. Yeah, I remember they made a big deal about that at the presentation. The bucket from Bucket.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Nice. I'm taking this. This is basically what it looks like to work until your existential crisis kicks in. Then you pop. I'm really disappointed, though, that they didn't add the jumping mechanic. That would have really added a lot.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I'm going to be a bit spicy.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
You know what, Bucket? I've seen the lounge, alright? They hype it up. Wait a second.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right. Then walking to the lounge. Then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
It truly has been a grand adventure.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
I'm not about to let a bucket do my thinking for me, even if it does do it better.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Why is this couch made of keyboard? Okay, Bucket, I know you're feeling very sentimental, but I feel like it's about time we moved on from the employee break room arc.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business.
Wait, I think I've been here before.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Is this game trying to gaslight me as to what my own thoughts are? Because I think it's working. Well, Bucket, if you are doing the thinking, maybe you convinced me to do this.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
It's very beautiful.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Yes, it did.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay, Bucket, we'll go left.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
The conference room is a scary place. The comfort bucket is very necessary. I actually think more workplaces should provide comfort buckets. We would synergize core value expenditures and shift global market pared. We're gonna go in the closet. The bucket and I need privacy.
So Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy?
Oh.
It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket.
I will not. It's mine.
I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems.
Wow.
Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never...
Actually, they're kind of on
Go on,
base.
Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Can I defecate in this? I think it would really show the broom closet.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Oh, cosmetics.
There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Do I have to pay $5 for this, though?
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate.
Whoa.
See? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
That's a $30
That way,
value right
if you're
there.
ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Now I can stop being confused.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Look, I think things are getting a little bit too real in the broom closet to leave. Look at all the drama we've witnessed. If I'm real, this is probably the most interesting the journey is gonna get. So why would I walk away from that? There's so much tea. I feel like the broom closet may have gotten everything off its chest. We're gonna go upstairs.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh man, they called it. They read me like a book. Let's go into the bathroom. It's a collectible.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I will. I like how the collectible looks worried about making mortgage. Oh, this imagery is getting mighty close to brain rot. Regardless of how much this game predicts or not, I doubt it would have been able to predict the impact toilets had on the American conscience for the last year. This painting is what happens to me when I try to get cereal out of the fridge without waking anyone up.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
I'm wondering if this whole bucket thing is actually just a ruse for the narrator to make fun of me.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
This is all feeling very familiar, save for the bucket.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about
Chad?
mini stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Are the Stanlerines going to be a constant across all my playthroughs? Or am I going to lose them when Jeremy inevitably loses his mind and kills me?
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
what? I'm gonna go this way.
Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Nah, together we can brave anything. I believe in this.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Don't let him scare you, Bucket. We got this. Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death?
Aura.
This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere.
That's not what I'm thinking.
Farewell, Stanley.
Come on, let's parry this.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Wait, who are you?
In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end,
Well, what about
as
mine?
it was crushed violently to death.
Hang on, did my death break? I think it's bugged.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
You know, I think we owe it this much. The bucket clearly saved my life. See, it's not with me anymore. It clearly took the blow for me, just as Piccolo did for Gohan in the Buu arc. It saved my life by jumping in front of the blast. The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within, a cavernous void. But through the use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness? Well, I once Ubered Burger King for $58, so I wouldn't depend too hard on my ability to retain wisdom.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
I'm witnessing ascension. Buckets are holy relics. Remember this. 25 buckets. A photograph of 25 buckets. The greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. I am riddled with envy. A replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions died, yet in spite of it all, the simple fact remains, no one can control a bucket. I thought I was controlling it pretty well earlier. I blocked a hydraulic press with one. That is some sweet bucket lore, though. Am I allowed to show this on YouTube? I'm not sure. Cave drawing. While we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind, we do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. God, are we lucky.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Beautiful. Grace in motion. The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear of our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance, inevitably, is for our own good. Okay, I've been educated that man clearly does not deserve the bucket. But in my defense, I was about to be crushed in a hydraulic press. What else was I going to do? A bucket commands sacrifice. The sacrifice needed to happen. What other choice did I have? Oh. I guess it's only fair that I sacrifice myself as well, for depriving the world of an object of such immaculate beauty. My selfishness will now be punished. Or won't it? Is this forgiveness?
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
What is that?
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader.
You know what? I just so happened to change my mind. I don't think this is what Bucket would have wanted.